Damn right, dude. Libertarians know this because we bitch about it all the time. But we're right to do so, because we get to watch as the Libertarian Party constantly blows these huge opportunities to spread the message of peaceful interaction and voluntarism and anti-coercion. We like all the things that make libertarianism the greatest political philosophy of the modern age, which it is. It is the most principally consistent philosophy. It's up against Democrats and Republicans. You would think it would do better at presenting itself as a viable option, but once again, it fails. It failed last election cycle. We had Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. Now, what's the point of a liberty movement if it's going to be led by Gary Johnson and Bill Weld? Like, I don't hate Gary Johnson, but Gary Johnson is about the most milquetoast libertarian that has ever existed, probably. You know, back in 2007, that was going to be, the 2008 election was going to be the first election I was going to be old enough to vote in. And I really didn't know shit about politics. I knew my family were Republicans. I knew I had some conservative leanings. But I wanted to look at all the candidates for myself to see kind of like what everybody was about. And my introduction to libertarianism was with Ron Paul. I'm a child of the Ron Paul revolution. That was the early days of YouTube. I remember looking up videos with my brother. I remember watching all the debates and just like loving everything I was hearing from Ron Paul because it just all made sense. It was all a slap in the face, and the fact that the dude was an underdog, and the fact that you could tell he disagreed with everyone else that he was surrounded by on stage within his own party. That was a dude that started a movement. That was a dude that got people excited. People wanted to learn more about, like, what is this? That's how I was. I wanted to learn more about, like, well, what does that mean? Like, how could you possibly have a society without income taxes? And then finding out, like, well, I mean, for most of our history, we didn't have income taxes. How could you have a society without government doing this or government doing that? And he would just lay it out to you. Like, how could you not have, like, a central bank? What's that? And then you start finding out about how the government's fucked us over, creating the Federal Reserve in 1913. We got income tax and we got the Federal Reserve. And you would think that libertarians could just grab a hold of that. This is in recent history. I mean, that was just 12, 13 years ago that Ron Paul was blowing our minds with liberty logic, is what I could call it. And you would think that you could just take the ball and run. But my God, they just refuse to do so. When you watch Libertarian Party debates, if it's not some fat guy getting naked, you have, sorry Vermin Supreme fans, but you have a guy that looks like a wizard holding a giant toothbrush wearing a fucking boot on his head. And the thing is, I get satire. I get having fun. And I get pointing out, like, look, this whole system is ridiculous. It's a popularity contest. They're all promising you shit that you're not going to get. I get that. But at the same time, when I'm trying to tell people about the greatest ideas, and when they turn on a debate, that's what they see, you kind of lose credibility. Now, granted, I would take Vermin Supreme over basically anybody that's running right now in either of the mainstream parties, but that's because I get that it's satire. When you're introducing somebody into it, it looks like a fucking joke. And I don't know if people realize the times that we're living in, but we really can't afford to keep the joke going anymore. You really can't, man. When you have the far left rioting and trying to enforce this strict, politically correct version of a revisionist history of America and tearing down statues, yada yada yada. You have that on one side, and then on the other side you have the hardcore Trumpers who spent 8 years under the last president bitching about spending and bitching about all the things that president and his administration did, but yet the spending under Trump dwarfs Obama's spending. Then on top of that you have all the buffoonery and weird mannerisms, and all the horrible things are still going on. You know, you did get a tax cut, that's a good thing you got out of Trump, but you got spending increases. Drastic spending increases. Trump's Federal Reserve policy is absolute dog shit. We're still bombing 7 countries. The troops haven't come home. We went from a $19 trillion debt to now we're approaching a $27 trillion debt under Trump's watch. So that hasn't worked, guys. And who can make the case for this? Who can make the case for sound money, ending all the wars, ending the drug war, racism? The best method we have of reducing the impact of racism is reducing the state. Libertarianism preaches that. It tells you the way out, and the way out is with more freedom. And freedom is actually a winning message if you can get it amplified. Goddamn, guys, if 2016 wasn't bad enough, we had Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump. And here we are 4 years later, and the best the Democrats could do is Joe fucking Biden. We're going into Joe Biden versus Donald Trump in this political climate. And it is just like, dude, if this isn't evidence enough that this system is fucked beyond repair, then I don't know what to tell you guys. It needs something. It needs some kind of a kick in the ass. And if voting for the LP is going to be that kick in the ass, I don't think it is. But at a certain point, you start feeling helpless. So what exactly do you do? All I can think to do is I go to the ballot box in November and I punch the ticket for Joe Jorgensen, who's going to maybe get, 2-3% of the vote nationwide. I mean, as much as everybody hates Biden and Trump, it's not like she has a chance in hell of winning. But all I can hope for is maybe in future elections, maybe 4 years from now, 8 years from now, 12 years from now, a libertarian candidate is going to come along and light the fire under people's asses. That's really all that you can hope for, because none of this is going to get fixed by voting in Democrats and Republicans. So yeah, what we definitely need is libertarians to step up and be the adults in the room, because Rome's burning. We're doing, as George Carlin once said, we're circling the drain. It's become apparent at this point. I mean, how much longer is the currency going to last? How much longer can we keep the empire stretched out? How much longer can we spend like this? How much longer can we indebt future generations? I mean, the party just can't go on forever. So libertarians definitely have to step this up. We're blowing too many opportunities here. We're missing layups. This should be a job that does itself. Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. Jesus Christ. And libertarians are going to lose again. And not just by a little. They're going to lose by a lot.